Okay, my people, so I hope you're all having a blessed day, a blessed week, you know what I'm saying? But in this video today, we're going to be doing a prospect analysis video, which is my third video on this kind of, you know what I'm trying to say. But today we're going to be speaking about Ausar Thompson. And before you guys start typing away in the comment section, I've already said I'm going to be doing a lot of prospects in the lottery as a whole, because you never know, guys could impress in workouts and they get picked higher. The Rockets could trade down. So it's important you do your due diligence on every single prospect, which I'm sure Rafael Stone and the Houston Rockets front office are doing. But before we get into this video, please like the video, share the video with your friends, drop a sub if you enjoy my content. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. So let's talk about Ausar Thompson, a few facts about him before we get into the specifics. So he's a small forward / shooting guard. He's 6'7" and weighs 215 pounds, or around that. There's a couple varying statistics with that one. He has a 7-foot wingspan. And he played for the Overtime Elite, and I believe he played for the City Reapers. He has a twin brother named Ausar Thompson. They look quite identical in my opinion, so try not to get them mixed up. And he's 20 years of age and turns 21 come January 2024. So let's talk about his production this season and the type of statistics he was putting up that led him to become a potential top 4, top 8 pick. So Ausar Thompson this past season averaged 16.3 points per game, 6.1 assists, 7.1 rebounds, 2.4 steals, 1.1 blocks on essentially 57% from the field, 30% from 3 on 4 attempts per game, and shot 66% from the line, alongside turning the ball over 3.3 times. Now, these statistics, you can't really read too much into it, because you can't just look at stats and have an opinion on a player. You're gonna have to watch them and listen to videos like this. But as a whole, he had a solid season. As you can tell, he's quite a well-rounded guy. He can do a bit of everything. But if you want to go into more detail about the type of things he's good at and not good at, then just wait 1 second. But I would like to say one thing about Ausar Thompson right now. Even though you might think about the competition, there's certain things which stand out to me. Averaging 1.1 blocks as a small forward isn't something to be overlooked. He's actually a very, very good shot blocking guard. He's a good guard or wing, sorry. He's a very good rebounder too. So those are certain intangibles you've got to look at when evaluating a player. And I feel like Ausar Thompson could translate certain elements of his game right away to the NBA level. But to go into more detail about his strengths, I'd probably say the biggest selling point with him, and even his brother too, is that quick first step. They're both so quick off that first dribble. They have elite quickness, and they both have great length too. And like it says right under, he's a freak athlete with a lot of burst. Now, what makes these guys so intriguing is that you can't teach those type of things. The type of things they have at that size is hard to combine in the modern NBA. Quickness and athleticism is something which is highly coveted, so that's something you can't really teach. He is a decent ball handler, which I'll get into more detail in a minute. And over at the rim, he's a very good finisher. His defensive instincts are very good. Even though some scouting reports will say he's a good on-ball defender, I still feel like there's a lot to be desired in that aspect of his game, and he can improve a lot. However, as a weak side defender, I can see him potentially become an elite. And as a whole, I see Ausar as a type of prospect where if you can put the pieces of the puzzle together, you could be getting a real complete player right here. Now, he does have potential to be a good shooter, more so than his brother. I say this because mechanically his shot looks a lot more sound than Ausar's, and also in the OTE playoffs he shot 38% on only 5 attempts per game. So they were daring him to shoot, and guess what he was doing? He was punishing the defense. So that's a very good sign for someone whose jump shot's a bit suspect and doesn't shoot that well from the line. But again, an NBA development trainer with the right type of guys that can tweak his shot, he could become a very consistent guy, especially because being a wing in today's NBA, you need to be able to space the floor. You can't be out there like Dylan Brooks. But yeah, as a whole, I do feel like there's a lot of intrigue with this guy right here. And two things that stand out the most: he has such a high motor. That is such a massive ticking point for any prospect, because you've seen a guy like Ben Simmons, for example. If you have all the talent in the world and you don't want to work, it's going to be hard to do anything with that. But someone like Ausar Thompson, I'm not comparing him to Ben at all, by the way, but I'm just saying, when you have a prospect who's willing to put the work in to improve, that's something that's just going to be more beneficial to you and your team as a whole. Now, for his position and size, he's a very good rebounder and shot blocker too, which is something that you can't just overlook, because if you want to have him as a weak side defender, he being able to sometimes recover and block shots and grab balls and crash the glass is something that's going to be so important. So there's definitely some intangibles there which you see, if we play this kind of system defensively, Ausar could fit in here, you know what I'm trying to say? So yeah, that's why I feel like he's such a good prospect to at least have a look at and invite for a workout to see if you can improve on certain aspects to make him become a complete NBA wing. Now, unfortunately, we have to talk about the weaknesses, which are probably the biggest downside to AUSAR'S game, because it's like you have so many intangibles that we like, but if only you could create your own shot better. Now, I already said AUSAR'S a great finisher at the rim, but sometimes his issue is getting to the rim, and you might be thinking, how is he a good ball handler not able to get to the rim? So there's a difference. So obviously AUSAR'S very quick, he's explosive, blah, 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 but at the NBA level, you're going to have guys just as quick as you, some even just as athletic as you, and overall there's going to be bigger, more imposing guys guarding the paint. Now, I do see an avenue where this kind of becomes neutralized because he's very quick, his handle's pretty decent, so I do see a world where this kind of flaw or weakness gets amended very quickly, but it's still something which I've noticed. His three-point shooting, which I mentioned, could become a strength because he did show signs towards the end of his OTE stint that he can become a consistent shooter, but that's still yet to be seen. His free throw shooting definitely has to improve because 65% in the NBA level just isn't cutting. He needs to get up to that 75% range in my humble opinion. Then overall, he turns the ball over too much. We don't want a Jaylen Brown situation where you're just turning the ball over left, right and center. I don't know why I'm roasting Jaylen Brown. What a player he is, by the way. But overall, I feel like he turns the ball over too much, which comes as a carelessness of him being too quick, being out of control sometimes, which comes with guys that are freakishly athletic and quick. But it's something you're going to have to adjust, because if you're consistently turning the ball over at the NBA level, your minutes are going to consistently get cut. And like I said at the bottom, he can sometimes be too reliant on that athleticism, which, like I said, when you're that athletic and quick, you're going to do that anyway. But again, at the NBA level, there's going to be times where you can exploit that, but also do you have another layer and element to your game to the point where you're not just relying on your athleticism purely. Now, obviously the competition at OTE wasn't the best, so that's also a question mark, but as a whole, looking at these guys, both Amen and AUSAR, especially AUSAR in this case, when it comes to work ethic and intangibles there, the right NBA development staff could definitely turn this guy into a beast. Now, why might Ausar Thompson fit on the Houston Rockets? So in my Amen video, I did say that he was a bit of a project player, but he could fit in this way, that way. In AUSAR'S case, I think even more so than Amen, he's going to be a guy that needs a lot of work. But for these exact reasons, he could fit onto the Rockets. So right now, you have quite a logjam at the forward position. You've got KJ, you've got Tari, you've got Jabari, you've got, who have I missed? Jae'Sean Tate. I've probably missed a couple guys out. Add in whoever they might sign in for agency. So having someone like Ausar who has the time to develop that untapped potential might be cool, so you don't have to throw him into the fire right away. Then he's showing signs of becoming a well-rounded, prototypical NBA wing. If you can put the puzzles together, you've got a guy at 6'7" who can move extremely well, can handle the rock, is explosive going to the rim, can defend, can block shots for his position, can rebound the ball. That's a recipe for success. Obviously, those things have to be put together and polished a bit more for them to be of high NBA standard, but the intangibles are still there, and that's all you need for some development coaches, the intangibles and work ethic, and that can definitely develop into becoming the full real deal. Now, Ime Udoka is a great coach as well. Like, before he became a head coach, he was an assistant coach for the San Antonio Spurs, the Boston Celtics, the Sixers. There's so many teams he's been an assistant coach for, and they've all spoke very highly of him. So this is something you've got to remember, and you've got to realize when this guy's been around the block. Like, I feel like if there's a coach that's going to develop a guy like Ausar Thompson, who's a wing, 6'7", blah, 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 it's Ime Udoka. He's very hard on his players, and I'm sure that he's one of the best coaches that will help him grow defensively, because he is such a good defensive mind, one of the best in the league in my opinion. So that's someone where Ausar Thompson can learn from, and definitely just learn his trade on that end of the floor even more. By the way, if you guys have not got my vibe, I'm not saying he's a bad defender. I think there's elements which he's very good, could become elite, but there's also areas which in my opinion I think are a bit sketchy, a bit iffy, if you know what I'm trying to say. But why might Ausar not fit on the Houston Rockets, which in my opinion is the most important thing to touch on? So obviously this Rockets team has Jalen Green, who's a streaky three-point shooter. I will call him quite average right now. Kevin Porter Jr. is probably a good shooter. Jabari Smith Jr. will become a very good shooter, but right now, yeah, KJ is pretty average. But you're getting the whole gist of this roster. A lot of average shooters. Now, do you want to add another guy who's another inconsistent shooter? I'm not too sure about that. And on top of that, he may not be guaranteed minutes. I say that because you've got so many guys at the forward position who might be more NBA ready right now, and he turns the ball over a lot, which isn't really what you need, especially if you're trying to become a playoff team next season. But at the same time, it's like, what do you value more, a guy for the future or a guy for the now? That's where you got to strike the balance. And then again, if you're trading down, you're going to receive an asset in return. But Who knows? I feel like Ausar has a lot of potential, but does that fit what the Rockets want right now? I think they want potential alongside a guy who can be very productive right now. I'm not saying Ausar can't be that, but out of all the guys I'm seeing around that 4-pick range, I feel like he's the most, or he's the biggest question mark, I should say. And on top of that, something I forgot to add is that I said he has a lot of untapped potential. Now, I think a lot of guys with that kind of level of potential, they need some sort of consistent playing time for them to be able to fulfill it. Then again, if you do it correctly, the way Giannis was with Milwaukee, I'm not comparing this guy to Giannis before you blow up the comments. I'm saying that sometimes guys don't need a lot of playing time at the start to develop. They just need a lot of time with the coaching staff, spot minutes here and there, and those minutes will increase year by year, and that's when you see the slow growth of a player. But could that be a detriment in Ausar's case? Or I feel like he's a guy which you put in there, you let him learn from his mistakes, grow on the fly, and that's when you see him develop even more as a player. But who knows? What do I know? I'm just giving my damn opinion. Now, my grade for Ausar Thompson for the Houston Rockets. Remember, these videos are specifically for the Houston Rockets and how I'd grade them fit-wise. I'd say a 5.5 out of 10. Why would I say that? I say if you stay at pick 4, there are a couple options which I like a bit more than Ausar, even maybe his brother, Amen. And at the same time, if you trade down for him, it's a thing where it's like, I see the value, but they're going to be guys who might be more better suited to your team. I don't know, but I feel like what even leaves it at 5.5 is the fact that this guy has so much potential. In my opinion, out of Amen and Ausar, I would say that if both go as planned 100%, Ausar will be the better player. That's if he develops at the right place. I feel like he has more potential than Amen, even though they both have great potential, which is saying a lot because they're both just such amazing, intriguing prospects. So that's the thing right there, but it's going to take a lot of time. And I kind of compare him to Jonathan Kuminga, not necessarily just play style wise, but in the sense that they're both going to be guys that are going to show spurts. They're quite raw offensively, but they have a lot of great athleticism and great intangibles like speed and whatever. However, if they're not getting consistent minutes, their growth might not be as linear as you expect it to be. Jonathan Kuminga in his first year had moments where you think, wow, this guy's going to really burst onto the scene, become a key rotational piece. But then over the years, you see a bit where it's like, this guy's not ready yet. He's not developing the way we thought he would after year 1. And that might be the case with Ausar, which isn't really a negative, but it's a thing where it's like, I feel like players like that need consistent minutes on like a bottom of the barrel team. And for those haters out there, the reason why I'm not including Houston in the bottom of the barrel team talks anymore is because it's quite evident their mindset for next season isn't going to be to tank. Even if they don't get James Harden, there's going to be moves they're going to make, which is automatically going to progress them into that next tier of play-in contention. So that's not really going to be the focus to give guys like Ausar minutes that, even if they don't deserve it, I feel like next season with Ime in the locker room, it's going to be a thing where you're going to have to earn your minutes. No guy's going to be guaranteed minutes, going to be guaranteed a certain role. If you play well, if you do the things Ime is asking for, your minutes might increase. For example, I see someone like Tyrese and potentially becoming one of the most played players next season. He might average one of the most minutes per game because he's an Ime Udoka type player, in my opinion, yes. So it's a thing where it's like, nothing's guaranteed, and if you can't guarantee this guy minutes, will his development be as smooth as you think it'd be? I don't know. So there's a lot of question marks with this prospect here, but that's just my short opinion. But honestly, that's all I got for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I was speeding through this video a little bit. Obviously, Ausar is a prospect which I'm slightly confused on myself. I haven't fully gauged the full opinion on what I think about him, hence why this video is a bit of me playing both sides. But if you pick Ausar Thompson, one thing you can't deny is his work ethic, his athleticism, his quickness, and the avenue for him to become such a great NBA player. But overall, let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you get where I'm coming from? Or do you think I'm talking absolute rubbish? Let's keep it respectful, but at the same time, I am open to objection, and I am open to see you guys' varying opinions. But that's all I got for this video. Stay blessed, my people, and I'm out. Peace.